Do you know what the toughest part of this hobby is? Playing games. I know, Joey, preach, we know this already, but it's true, it's the hardest part about this hobby. You spend a lot of time looking at different handhelds, arguing on social media about how good one is over the other, and then you buy a handheld, you wait for it to arrive, you get it, you spend a day setting it up, maybe a few days if it's a little bit hard for you. And then you don't actually play any games. You start the cycle over again because another handheld came out and it's even better than yours. And you're like, I want that instead. And the cycle keeps going. That poor first handheld stays untouched and unused. And maybe you download a game on it every week and maybe you play it for a few minutes, but you're not actually using it. You're pretending to. But then one day, the stars align, the wife is out shopping, the kids are out at grandma's or wherever kids go, your guinea pigs aren't chirping, your dog's asleep, everything has lined up, and you're like, I can finally play some video games today. You head over to your favorite game sharing place where you can legally download some games, and you go and grab a big pack of games, 40,000 of them, because you were told somewhere that the more games a device has, the better it is. And so you sit there and you doom scroll through all 40,000 games, and by the time you find something, or maybe you don't, everybody's back, and you lost your chance to play those video games. And then a new device is announced, and you start the cycle all over again, because that's how it is. But what if you could just play some video games? What if somebody came to you and said, hey man, here's a list of 100 games. Work your way through them. Play some games. Stop buying more handhelds because they're always going to keep coming out, but nothing's changed really in the last 2 years. You can play all of the games that you can on the same devices that came out 2 years ago. So why don't you just play some games? Hi, I'm Joey. I'm going to help you play some damn video games instead of buying handhelds. So this topic came up because I am in a similar situation. Not so much that I couldn't find what to play, but I was kind of just going all over the place. I would play a game from one system, jump to another system. There was no rhyme or reason. I was just randomly going through games, and I wanted a bit more organization in my life as to what I was playing, because I feel like somebody who's been doing this for so long, and I've played games that are retro when they were current, I might have missed a few classics, and I might have missed a few games that I want to replay, and all of that sort of things, and I'm just kind of going around to different games and I don't have an organization. A lot of times I'm just playing Pokemon ROM hacks because they are awesome, and because it is apparently on brand for me. But then I'll jump over to something like Tales of the Abyss on PS2, or I'll jump over to Fire Emblem on GameCube, and I'll jump over to this and that. And I'm just kind of going all through. I usually just end up playing a Pokemon game at the end of that because I can't decide on what I want to play. And so today's video is to help you and me stay organized on playing some games. So a lot of you know I love retro achievements, and I was curious, what are the top retro achievements games? And this has nothing to do with retro achievements. It's just where I get my games from or check to see if they're supported. And so I went to the forums, and hidden deep inside was a top 100 list of the most played retro achievements games. And you might be thinking, well, that's just retro achievements, but it is people in our hobby. It is retro game enthusiasts. And I was curious what the top games were being played because that's what I want to play. I want to play what everybody's playing. Why not? I don't know why this wasn't somewhere on the website where you could just go sort by number of players or whatever, but they don't have it. It was hidden in the forums. And top 100 lists aren't anything new. We have top 100 lists for literally everything that you can think of. IGN has it, Metacritic has it, everybody has their own top 100 lists, but usually they have modern games on them as well. And so to get retro games, to be very specific about, I don't even know, GameCube and under, PlayStation 2 and under, all of that sort of thing, it's very difficult to get a good list or a list of what people are actually playing. This is where this comes in. Now, as usual, don't take a top 100 list to heart. None of them are ever correct. None of them will fit everybody's needs for what they want a top 100 list to look like, but it's a starting point, and that's the way you should look at it, is just to get you to start playing some games. And honestly, there is a ton of classics right off the bat. We have Super Mario World right at the top, Donkey Kong, Zelda, and I mean, already we're off to a fantastic start with some very big classics, and Super Mario World is my personal favorite Mario game. Then we diversify with some Castlevania, Crash Bandicoot, Metroid, and those are all great. We want to play some non-Nintendo games too, and from different systems, and there are some here. Then we get to some absolute classics with Super Metroid, more Castlevania, Tetris, Chrono Trigger, and I mean, all of these games are great in different ways, and there's just enough variation there in the way they play to have a good time going from one to the other. And Chrono Trigger is the quintessential RPG, JRPG experience. You have to play it. Mega Man finally pops up, along with a fighting game like Tekken 3. Even Sonic is here, and surprisingly we hit our first Pokemon with Emerald. I probably would have chosen Fire Red to be the number one played, but Emerald, whatever, both are good. The next few games are just bangers. We have Zelda, Minish Cap, we have Metroid Fusion, Kirby's, Super Smash Bros., and we're back to another Pokemon. There is hours and hours of gameplay already, and we're not even halfway through this list. It is a pretty good variety of games so far. Metal Gear Solid comes up real quick, and then God of War, Silent Hill, some Donkey Kong, and some variety with Punch-Out and WarioWare. Depending on the handheld that you have, you might not be able to play God of War, but the others you definitely can. I'm actually surprised that we haven't seen a Final Fantasy game yet, but I checked out the entire list and it turns out no Final Fantasies on this list. So it makes it the worst list ever, apparently. Then we have Pokemon Fire Red, Ninja Gaiden, Wario Land 4, and Earthbound makes an appearance, along with another Pokemon with Yellow. This right here is a killer group of games, and we are halfway-ish down the list. Metal Slug finally shows up, same with DuckTales, Altered Beast, and my personal favorite Zelda, Ocarina of Time. I love Metal Slug, and I love Altered Beast, but Zelda Ocarina of Time is an absolute masterpiece, and either way, you are getting a very good variety of games. Then we have Batman, and some Sonic, and some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the list keeps going. So, Joey, what was the point of all that? You just read some video games at us, and that was it. And the point, my dear viewer, is a starting point, a list, something to get you started with classic games on it. And this list has pretty much all of the classics to just start and play some games. Get familiar with retro games because otherwise you are doom scrolling, you are buying new handhelds and not playing them. Just play some games. Is it a perfect list? No, never is. But that's not the point, right? The point is just the starting point. And the point is just to play some actual video games. It doesn't matter what the list is. If you don't like this list, go look at a top 100 list somewhere else. But start. It's a good starting point. And I find that I get more organized this way because I'm actually using it. I went from top down. Super Mario World was the first game, and I went through it, played it, beat it. Now I'm at Super Mario 64 as well as Link to the Past, so I've made it down a few different games. My personal goal is to finish everything on that list by the end of next year. Is that ambitious? I don't know. We'll see. I've already done, a 20th of the list in a few weeks, so we'll see. But either way, it helps you get into a groove. It helps you get going. So even if it's not this list, find something. Make a list of games and go through them and stick to them. But if that still doesn't get you, you can come join my Discord. We do a ROM hack of the month and we do a game of the month. So you can get peer pressured into playing some games if for some reason you can't stay on track doing it yourself. And I know there's some of you that are going to be like, oh, retro achievements, man, retro achievements suck. I hate anybody that play retro achievements. Look, retro achievements you don't have to interact with. The only reason I brought it up is, again, a lot of retro gamers are using retro achievements. It makes it a perfect community to go and look and see what people are playing. But also, retro achievements tracks games that you beat. So you can actually just use that service for that specifically only. Turn off all the other stuff if you want. Use it just to track what games you are beating. Or track it yourself. It doesn't matter. That's the only reason I mention it. Now, if you're somebody who still, at the end of all of this, is like, man, can you just give me 5 games to start playing? I got you. Start with Super Mario World. It is number 1 for a reason. It is the best Mario, in my opinion. Don't yell at me. But it is the perfect starting point. Go and start with Super Mario World. Next, I would absolutely do a Pokemon. Unless Pokemon slept with your wife and you really hate Pokemon, do Pokemon Fire Red and start there. If for some reason you can't do a Pokemon, Chrono Trigger. Definitely 2 great RPGs to start with right there. And you want to get into that RPG mindset because why not? And if for some reason you don't like Pokemon and you don't like Chrono Trigger, then just get out of my house. So we've done a 2D platformer, we've done an RPG. I think next has to be an action adventure with Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It is a 3D game, it is on Nintendo 64. You get a whole newer system to play with, and you get probably the best Zelda game in my opinion. So yeah, why not? For fourth, let's head back to NES and we're gonna play some Kirby's Adventure. Yeah, it's an NES game. It's a palate cleanser. We're going all the way back to way retro, but why not? Fifth, I would go with PlayStation 1 and we're going to do Castlevania Symphony of the Night because we're changing up every system for each of these picks, and Castlevania Symphony of the Night is fantastic. Why wouldn't you want to play that? So yeah, let's do it. Don't like my picks? I don't care. You don't have to. I'm just picking from the 100 list. Pick your own 5 games from that list. Do it randomly. Do it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The point of today is just play some games, because buying more of these just because I tell you to or somebody else tells you to isn't great. I have to do this. I have to review devices. I have to tell you that this is better than another one or that one's better than that. It doesn't matter, but that's not going to change. What's going to change is you should just play what you have, because nothing changed here. I've done reviews. I've had maybe 60, 70 devices in the last 2 years. You know what I learned? Nothing. Nothing's changed in 2 years. The devices that I was reviewing or checking out from 2-3 years ago are the same as these ones here. You could play all of those same games. The only difference is maybe the D-pad's slightly better. There's maybe slightly better performance. You could put some more shaders on it. You could do some other things, but at the end of the day, we're playing the same games the same way, just on a slightly better device each time. And what's the point? Just play some games. I'm going to leave the list in the description in case you want to check that out, but it's up to you. It's just one list to get started. That's going to be it for this one. Check out all of my links in the description to follow me, find me in the world, and all that sort of thing, and appreciate you all for watching.